Welcome back, Padawans, to the Jedi Gaming Academy channel. And I have a special show for you today. We're going to be trying out a new format, a new addition to the other episodes that I've given you. And this one is going to be dubbed the Jedi Archives. Alright, so what I'm planning to do here is pretty much do a list format video for you guys, and I want to see how this does. If you guys like it, let me know. Drop that comment down in the comment section below. Let me know how it is if you want to see more of this one, and we'll keep it pushing, all right, guys? But without further ado, let us kick off the first Jedi Archives with the top PS1 games, or the best PS1 games during my playtime with the PlayStation 1, all right? So this is going to be more of a biased list, all right? It's not going to be, a top 10 list of any merit. It's really a top of 9, because that's the only games that I could think of. PS1 came out when I was a wee lad, so there's a lot of games there that I may have played, may not have played, but these ones specifically, yes, I played, yes, I have some thoughts on them. We're going to get into that, all right? But without further ado, let us start with number 9, and that is going to be NFL Game Day or Face Off, because honestly, I don't know which one it is. But I want to say this one, and I put this on the list because this is a game that really did, show me a love of sports games, right? So I didn't play a lot of games, or a lot of sports games during this generation, during the PS1 generation. I wasn't really into sports. I mean, at that time, I was probably like 5 to 8 when I had the PS1, so I was not huge into sports, not really big into sports. Now I do, I love baseball, I do love soccer, but out of those, that's really it, So NFL, definitely not my cup of tea, and especially not at that age, definitely was not about that. But I remember playing this game non-stop with my buddy who lived right below me, all right? So he actually got a PS1 first, and that was how my first, foray into an at-home console. I didn't know what that was. I didn't have that experience until he got it and was playing games with him. Now, I never got to play his PlayStation. I did every now and then, but he was real sly, and he would figure out and finagle ways to where he always had that controller. But you know what? I'm an adult now. It's his console. I get it, all right? But NFL, that game, again, either Game Day or Face Off, that one, it resonates with me because I remember playing it. I can remember sitting on his bed and watching him create his own character for what seemed like hours. And that was the only stipulation as to what was not letting me play the game. He's like, I gotta create this character, man. Gotta keep creating character. So it's like, well, how long is it gonna take? So that was my first little, really? But again, this built a love for sports games in me, and one of those things that I didn't even know that it was doing that at the time until I get to, the Xbox 360, the PSP, and the PlayStation 4 generation, and when I'm actually getting the Madden games and having a lot of fun with them unexpectedly. You know what I mean? So definitely, I feel like that came from my time with NFL either Game Day or Face Off back in the day on the PS1, all right? But let's move over to number 8, guys, and that is going to be Namco Museum Volume whatever, because again, far back, all right? We're way far back, probably at the very least, what are we, 20 years? 20 years ago, 2 decades? Anyway, so I don't remember what volume it was, but I know for a fact that I had Namco the Museum, or the Museum, one of the volumes I had for my PlayStation 1. And I will say this, that was one of the first games that I got that had a plethora of games included on the same disc. You know what I mean? Where you can go in there. If you don't know what Namco Museum is, it basically is a collection of Namco's best and greatest hits. You know what I mean? And they've put them and compiled them into these different volumes. And then you go through what feels like, based on the name, a museum. And then that's how you kind of access all of these different games like that. So definitely was one that, piqued my interest as a child, growing up, because it kept me going. There was always something else to play on that one. I remember playing Pac-Man, of course, obviously. I don't remember what version of Pac-Man, because I don't think it was the original. But there are a plethora of games on there, and it, again, kept the fun going wherever you're at. And I feel like there was some multiplayer games on there too, some couch co-op games that you're able to get into on that one as well. But next on the list, we have number 7, Disney Pixar's A Bug's Life. Now, I don't know if you know this, But The Bug's Life was, that was the movie back in the day, all right? Like, these Pixar movies, when they were coming out, they were hot and bothered, all right? I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it at all. But my dad actually would take me to see these movies because they were separate and different from, like, Disney's regular animation that they used to do, like just regular 2D cartoons or the hand-drawn cartoons that they would do. Pixar, when they came into the fold, that really sparked an interest in these movies with my father, and that's how I was able to actually go and see these movies and get to see these movies in the grand scheme of things. So I am definitely a Pixar baby as opposed to a Disney baby. But yeah, when the Bug's Life game came out, of course, Dad had to get that one because he knew that I loved the Bug's Life. I would watch that movie time and time again, and being able to play in that game world, right? Play in that world that the Bug's Life takes place in. That is like unbelievable in the grand scheme of things because I never experienced anything like that. You know what I mean? I have the game itself. I've got the movie, right? And I've watched the movie time and time again. But now we've got the gameplay aspect of it. You know what I mean? And again, this is just a normal kind of, platforming gameplay. It's not very difficult to wrap your head around. This is a movie tie-in game. It's definitely geared towards kids. It's very simplistic. That's what I'm trying to say here. And again, would I go back to it now and play it? Probably not. I don't even care for the nostalgic purposes. Probably not. But it still was there, and I remember it fondly because it gave me that ability to play with characters and these different bugs that I have grown accustomed to and that I have seen on the big screen, and I feel like that really changes things and makes it that much more of a nostalgic game and a nostalgic experience in the grand scheme of things, especially on the PS1 when I was a child, all right? But let's move on to number 6, and that is Twisted Metal. Now, if you already know, guys, Twisted Metal actually just had a live action show that was put out on Peacock.
Years ago, the world fell to shit. Cities put up walls to protect themselves and threw the criminals out so they could fight over what was left. But there are humble motherfuckers like me delivering cargo from one walled city to another. And that's where the cars and guns come in. Give me the package up, man!
If you haven't checked that out, I definitely think you should because it's got Anthony Mackie in it, and I gotta say, he does a really good job. Like, a really good job. It was surprisingly good. Like, surprisingly. And I did not expect anything of this, but what we got of it, I'm okay with, and I'm happy with, and I'm definitely looking forward to season 2 of this show. But we're not talking about the show now. We're talking about the game for the PS1. Man, I spent a lot of hours in this game, all right? Like, Twisted Metal is... It's a car arena, bash, right? So you're trying to take out these other vehicles that are in the game. You can play co-op, as in couch co-op. You can play online, I believe. I think I played online. Actually, that's a lie. That is a straight up lie. I had no online connectivity until until the 360. So definitely was not playing online, but against the AI and definitely co-op because I remember playing this with the same buddy who that had the NFL game, that Game Day or Face Off, whichever one it is. But Twisted Metal definitely piqued my interest, and I don't know why. In the grand scheme of things, again, I was a child when this came out, or when I was playing this game. I definitely was in the younger age, in the single digits when I was playing this. So why did this game specifically pique my interest? I have no idea. Maybe I'm a little crazy. I don't know. I know I'm crazy. That's a fact, okay? But anyway, I don't understand why I loved this game as a child. I can understand as an adult why this game would pique my interest, but an adult interest, not a child interest. You know what I'm saying? But I do remember putting a lot of hours into Twisted Metal. And again, it's one of those games that you can just put on, play, and you don't really have to think about it, right? You just get in there and you've got weapons on your vehicles. The vehicles are very cool. All of them do different things, and I just loved it. I absolutely loved it. The one thing that I remember is Sweet Tooth's vehicle transforming into like a mech in a sense, and I think it still like drove like a regular car, but it did like come up like a mech, you know what I mean? And I thought that was awesome. Like, that was the coolest freaking thing. So you always had to figure out, okay, who am I going to use? What am I going to put in here? And then how are we going to take out the other people that are in this arena? But let's move on over to number 5. And we've got Crash Team Racing. Oh, boy. Oh, my God.
What? Oh, my God.
Now, this game right here,
Fasten your seatbelt.
I love this. Okay, now this was my first foray into what like the Mario Karts, you know, what they were. And again, that is apparent because I don't think there was a Mario Kart variant at this time during the PS1 generation. I could be very, very wrong on that because I was late to the Nintendo party. I think I got in bed with Nintendo and let's calm down, all right? I think I got in there with the Wii, but other than that, like, I didn't know anything else that happened there. N64, SNES, none of that stuff, right? So I don't know if if Mario Kart was a thing back then. I feel like it was. Like, how could they definitely, let's put it this way. I don't believe that Mario Kart got their idea from Crash Team Racing, okay? I feel like Crash Team got it from Mario Kart. Even all the way back then. So if I had to guess, I would say Mario Kart came first. But Crash Team Racing still is one of those games that, again, it's seeing these characters that we already know from Crash Bandicoot in a different aspect, in a different way. Now, Crash is on this list as well, but as we're talking about it, we'll talk about it now. I never really cared for Crash, the original game, because it was too hard for me. But Crash Team Racing is where I got my Crash, you know, fervor. You know what I mean? That's where I know these characters because of Crash Team Racing and going through all of those maps time and time again. Was I trying to be the best? Absolutely not, because I was terrible. But I was trying to feel like I was doing the best. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter how the feel is. That's all that is important, is how do you feel while you're racing and while you're playing this game.
It doesn't matter what you think.
And I tell you what, Crash Team Racing made me feel like a king, even though I may have came in 5th place on every single race, all right? But you know what? There's still 4 or 5 other people that are behind me, okay? So I might be in the middle, but at least I'm not in last, all right? Because if you're not first, you're last.
If you ain't first, you're last.
I don't know. Anyway, guys, let's move on to number 4. And we have the Harry Potter game, the Harry Potter tie-in game. Now, I don't exactly know what specifically, like what the subtitle is for this one, but I remember playing a Harry Potter game on my PS1, and again, this is coming from somebody who, at the time, had not seen, read, or anything about Harry Potter. Why did I ask for a Harry Potter game? I don't know. Probably because the marketing for it was fantastic. You know what I'm saying? But I gotta say, the Harry Potter game definitely took some time out of me, and took a lot of my gameplay time, because it was very magical, obviously, but there was a lot to do in it, right? It was an open Hogwarts. Now, not in the vein of Hogwarts Legacy that came out earlier this year, but what we could do on the PS1. For what we could do with the PS1 and that console, they did a really good job of like giving you a lot to explore and a lot of Hogwarts to explore, and you going and talking to these different people and, you know, having conversations with the different cast and crew that are actually in the movies. Now, very weird again that I have so much fervor and I gravitated towards this title, having never seen any of the IP beforehand, you know? So that again goes to show how much Harry Potter as an IP is, how strong it is, because it can get kids in who have not even seen or heard anything about this, but they just see the gameplay and the visuals of this, and it is immediately intriguing. So that is why Harry Potter got me, but again, the gameplay aspect of it kept me going as a young child. So that's why it lands so high on this list here. Now, number 3, we have Crash Bandicoot. Now, if I'm being honest, I probably would have switched Crash and Crash Team Racing. So Crash Team Racing probably should have been 3 in the grand scheme of things. It's the first episode of the Jedi Archives, okay? Give me some time, we're gonna get it down. But my point is, Crash, yeah, I definitely like Crash Team Racing a little bit more than I like Crash Bandicoot, the original one. But it's so iconic that I felt like it couldn't go that far down the list. But I'm okay with it being at 5. I'm okay with it being top 5. You know, either way, Crash Bandicoot is self-explanatory. I don't feel like we need to get into that. If you've played games, you know what Crash is. You've seen Crash. You've seen the resurgence of Crash Bandicoot, right? Now, what got me is that it was just too hard. It was just too hard for my little mind and my little brain to comprehend. You know what I mean? So trying to get the platforming down, I mean, let's be honest. It's still hard for me right now, okay? I've already gone through and I tried to play the remastered version of this game and it's not good, all right? It's not a good time. I don't even think I was able to, I think I got past the first 3 levels, and then after that I was like, you know what? I'm done. This is enough for me. I feel like I've gotten it. I feel like I see what Crash is about. There's going to be more of this, and I don't want more of it, so I'm good. But again, it definitely is a staple to the PS1 and definitely up there as one of the best PS1 games. So that's why I felt like I can't really move that far, even though I want to. Anyway, let's move on to number 2, and that is Spyro the Dragon. What's going to be number 1? What's going to be number 1? How about you tell me in the comments below? Anyway, Spyro the Dragon at number 2, guys. And this one I did actually love. I played the hell out of Spyro the Dragon. I don't know if I got the second version of the game, you know, the sequel to the game. I don't know. But I can tell you wholeheartedly that Spyro the Dragon is one of, if not the, you know, best starters for a platformer for any kid. If I'm being honest, I kind of want my daughter to play Spyro the Dragon, the reimagined version, the remastered version, if I do say so myself, because I feel like that game is pretty self-explanatory, pretty simple, pretty easy to wrap your mind around, and I'm trying to get her on Paw Patrol right now, so I feel like Spyro the Dragon is also right there with like simplistic, you know, how simple it is and how easy it is for young kids to kind of grasp it, you know what I mean? So I am going to be looking at that and looking into that in the future, but Spyro just, I don't know what it is, man. It's just, there's something about the crisp platforming of it, right? And how speedy everything is. You know, you're just running around collecting your different collectibles, and it doesn't feel like it's super tedious. It feels like everything that you come across, you can get done, you can deal with in a timely fashion. And I guess that's the point of the game. You're supposed to be constantly moving, right? That's how you fight people. You're constantly having to move. If you're not moving, you're gonna get got. So I feel like that is an aspect of the game design, but it also plays really well with the consumer base, right? So for young kids like myself, when I was playing this game, even as an adult too, it keeps you going and it keeps you finding and unlocking new things in a fast pace to where you don't get bored. You continuously are having something to do. And I feel like that really played in Spyro's hand very well here. But let us move over to number 1, and that is Spider-Man for the PS1, baby. Now, this game is not a movie tie-in game. It's nothing. It is just a Spider-Man game for the PS1. And I've got to tell you, I have had and continue to put so much time into this game. I got this game currently on my Steam Deck. Okay, so I've got it there, and I've been playing it there, but as a child, I played this game non-stop. So much so, guys, let me just bring it back. Let's reel it back in all the way back when I was on the PS1, and even into the PS2 generation. I did not know anything about memory cards. Nothing about them. Until I got to the PS2 generation, and actually Spider-Man Friend or Foe is the first game that I acquired a memory card so that I could continue my progress. Let me just tell you this. I didn't know anything about memory cards during the PS1 generation. I think I may have caught wind of memory cards. I think I caught wind of them during my playthrough of Spider-Man Friend or Foe. I think that's when my godmother told me about memory cards and actually gave me her memory card that she was currently using. And that's what I used, you know, for the entire time I had my PS2. But during the PS1 generation, I had no clue what a memory card was. I thought that what you're supposed to do when you play games on this thing is you start them over from the beginning every single time like it's an arcade game. Every time. So when I say that I put work and I put some time and I put hours into Spider-Man, those hours are usually the first 3 hours of the game. Every time. Because obviously as a child, I don't play games all night long. But I still had to turn it off and then come back to it. I think the farthest I've gotten, I'm pretty sure on the Steam Deck, on my playthrough on the Steam Deck, I think I'm farther on the Steam Deck, I know I have gotten farther on that playthrough on the Steam Deck than I ever did on the PS1, because I had no idea about memory cards and that I could save my place where I was at and continue the next day. Nope. Starting the game over from scratch every single time. You know another game I did that too on the PS2 generation? Polar Express. We might talk about that one when we have our PS2, our Best of PS2 episode, all right? But that's pretty much all I've got for you for this first episode of the Jedi Archives, guys. Tell me what you think about it in the comments below. Let me know what you want added, what topics you would like to hear in the Jedi Archives in this list format of shows. But guys, as always, I have been your host, Jedi Master Ren, and I will see you next time in the halls of the Jedi Gaming Academy. May the Force be with you.